Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. We will be starting our regularly scheduled meeting of for the Havre Grace Mayor and City Council with a regular agenda. However, we do have 4 ordinances that went through a first reading at the previous council meeting, and we will be having a public hearing on these 4 ordinances. So what we do before we start the meeting, we will do the 4 ordinance public hearings quickly. So let's start with the first ordinance. It's going to be ordinance, it's going to be a public hearing on Charter Resolution number 298 concerning the annexation of 1419 Chapel Road. And this is a resolution by the Mayor and City Council of Havre, Grace, Maryland, adopted pursuant to the authority of Maryland Constitution, Article 11E, and the provisions of the Annotated Code of Maryland, Local Government Article, Subtitle 3, Amendment or Repeal of the Charter, and Subtitle 4, Annexation, authorizing the legislative body of a municipality to annex property extending to the boundaries of the municipality by resolution, to amend the city charter, specifically Appendix A of the Havre Grace Charter, by adding subsection A.39, the first 2023 addition to the city boundaries, along with the legal description of the acres of land which will enlarge the boundaries of the city of Havre Grace to include 1419 Chapel Road, consisting of a total of 15,725 square feet, more or less. Is there anybody in the audience this evening that is here to speak on public hearing for Charter Resolution number 298? Sir. Good evening and welcome. May we please have your name and address for the record.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. Happy New Year to all of you. I just have one question about this annexation. The driveway next to it going into the townhouses had a hole in the property boundaries. They left a chunk of it in Harford County. So with the annexation of this property, is it going to create an enclave on either side of that driveway? Because it was, there's a funny shaped piece of land that goes from over Courier Street that snakes its way through the woods back there, and that's how some of this property was left in the county and not in the city. So when they annex in the one property that's next to the driveway, how does that affect the property that's attaches to that hole?
When you say driveway, do you mean the access road that goes into, is it Graceview? Is that what the
access road going into Grace Manor is part of it's in Harford County, and it was done that way so the properties on either side of it could still be in the county and not be created an enclave. So the whole driveway is not in Havre Grace. There's a piece of it that's in the county. So my question is, if this property is annexed in, do we take those other properties with it if there's an enclave created?
You would have to if there's an enclave, but from the maps I saw, the entire access road into Grace Manor's including the city.
There's county property on both sides of that driveway.
Right.
And it was the county property that was in the middle of the driveway connected the other side. So if you block off the right side of that, does it take out the left side?
I don't think so. I'll have to look again. But when I looked at the map, I didn't see that as an issue.
Yeah, that's just one of the peculiarities of Havre Grace zoning. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else wish to speak on Charter Resolution number 298? Any comments from the council? Without any further comments from the public or the council, I now close public hearing on Charter Resolution 298. Our next public hearing will be on Charter Resolution number 299 concerning the annexation of 1609 Pulaski Highway. A resolution by the Mayor and City Council of Havre de Grace, Maryland, adopted pursuant to the authority of the Maryland Constitution, Article 11E, and the provisions of the annotated Code of Maryland, Local Government Article, Subtitle 3, Amendment or Repeal of Charter, and Government Article, and Subtitle 4, Annexation Authorization, the legislative body of a municipality to annex property extending the boundaries of a municipality by resolution to amend the city charter, specifically Appendix A of the Havre de Grace City Charter, by adding subsection A.39, the second 2023 addition to the city boundaries, along with the legal description of the acreage or of the acres of the land which will enlarge the boundaries of the city of Havre de Grace to include the property known as 1609 Pulaski Highway, plus a portion of the 30-foot wide right-of-way consisting of a total of 1.59 acres, more or less. Who is in the audience this evening to speak on Charter Resolution 299? Any comments from the council? Okay. Without any comments from the council or the public, we will now close public hearing on Charter Resolution 299. The time is now 7:08. We will go to our third public hearing on Ordinance 1135. 1135 concerning accepting a deed of easement at 973 Chesapeake Drive. This is an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of Havre de Grace adopted pursuant to the authority of Article 11E of the Maryland Constitution, the local government article of the annotated Code of Maryland, and sections 33 and 34 of the Havre de Grace City Charter for the purpose of accepting a deed of easement with respect to the public facilities to include a municipal water line across the property located at 973 Chesapeake Drive. Is anybody in the audience this evening here to speak on Ordinance 1135? Any comments from the council? Without any further comments from the public or the council, I now close public hearing on Ordinance 1135. The time is now 7:09. Our last public hearing will be on Ordinance 1136. Ordinance 1136 is concerning adding Chapter 31-2 TT and UU regarding vacant, abandoned, and deteriorated properties. An ordinance by the Mayor and City Council of Havre de Grace, Maryland, adopted pursuant to the authority of Article 11E of the Maryland Constitution, the local government article of the annotated Code of Maryland, and sections 33 and 34 of the Havre de Grace City Charter, add Chapter 32-2 TT and UU regarding vacant, abandoned, and deteriorated properties. Is anyone in the audience this evening here to speak on 1136? Yes, sir. Welcome to the meeting, and may we please have your name and address for the record, sir.
Happy New Year, Mr. Mayor
Happy New Year.
and Mr. President and council members, distinguished staff. Joseph F. Sneed Jr., 112 South Main Street, Bel Air, Maryland, 21014. I'm a lawyer with Brown, Sneed, Young, Luch, and Helmlinger. And
Welcome.
I have the great opportunity to represent a great institution, which is Upper Chesapeake. And I rise in opposition to ordinance number 1136. I'm going to raise 7 points why this should not be passed. Number one, it's fatally flawed as drafted. You can't cite the land use article in general without citing the section that you're relying on. That's a cardinal rule of statutory interpretation. So you just can't do it. It's so vague and arbitrary as to be capricious, and it's unenforceable ab initio. Number two, the city council under sections 33 and 34 shall not pass legislation contrary to the laws of the state of Maryland. Let me say that again. Contrary to the laws of the state of Maryland. Section 33 and 34 run afoul of Maryland Article Health, Section 19101 et sec, which preempts this council from violating what is already on the books in the article, and this ordinance would be void ab initio. Number 3, let me be really clear here. Hartford Memorial Hospital will not be vacant. It will not be abandoned. It will not be deteriorating. Patients are still being treated there. And we intend to keep it occupiable. Ordinance 1136 is a thinly veiled attack at the University of Maryland, Upper Chesapeake, Hartford Memorial Hospital. And I'm quoting, "The Hospital of Hartford County was founded by a group of civic-minded citizens who gathered together for the first time on March 15, 1911. The objective set forth by this group was, quote, for the purpose of establishing, maintaining, and conducting a hospital for the benevolent and charitable purposes for the treatment of persons injured and afflicted with disease and sickness, and that it was a voluntary association instituted solely for these objects and not with pecuniary gain. The hospital began receiving its first patients in January of 1912. The building was formerly owned by George A. Baker and stood on a property now incorporated into the present Hartford Memorial Hospital. Then, with overwhelming support from the public, the hospital opened its doors in 1918. So for 106 years of dedicated service to Havre in Hartford County, this ordinance seeks to undo what we have accomplished on behalf of Upper Chesapeake. I can't help it to go back when Havre Grace did not understand or comprehend basic local land use law, and in so doing lost a freestanding medical facility, and what's really important, behavioral health care facility, and now this legislation is nothing but a target at Upper Chesapeake. To put things in perspective, the decision was made to move to Aberdeen by the board of directors of Upper Chesapeake. And I'll tell you, what's really, really important is from July to October of that year in Aberdeen, we needed 3 text amendments. One was including the helicopter. We needed a site plan recommendation from the Planning Commission and adoption by the Mayor of City Council. The City of Aberdeen rolled out the red carpet and said, Joe, make it happen. And with their cooperation, this facility is going to open. And I know you've been there. It's state of the art. It complements Hartford County. It adds to the healthcare system, which is so important. My final point is number 7. Let's call ordinance number 1136 for what it's worth. The city of Havre Grace lost the project. This ordinance represents a targeted attack on the very institution that gave great health care to all of Hartford County for more than a century. You know, I noticed in your FY 2024 budget, you have $250,000 in legal fees set aside. You may want to reconsider that number because it's going to go up. In my humble opinion, in my legal opinion, this ordinance, 1136, is nothing more than inverse condemnation. And all of the citizens of Havre Grace will have to pay for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Anyone else here this evening to speak on ordinance 1136? Any comments from the council? Okay, without any further comments, time is now 7:17. I close our public hearing. We'll begin our city council meeting. Okay. I call to order a meeting of the Havre Grace Mayor and City Council. The time is now 7:17. Excuse me one second. Council President Ringsacker.
Here.
Councilmember Robertson.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Councilmember Boyer.
Here.
Councilmember Shenagas.
Here.
Councilmember Boger.
Here.
All council members are present, counted for. Please join for the Pledge of Allegiance and opening prayer. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to kindly ask everyone to please remain standing. It gives me great pleasure and a great honor to call up a good friend of Havre Grace, Pastor Norman Obenshain, Havre Grace United Methodist Church. It's so good to see you here this evening, sir.
It is good to join you this evening. Happy New Year to all of you.
Well, thank you. Same to you.
Let us pray. Creator of liberty and free will, thank you for the freedom to govern ourselves. Help us to take this sober responsibility seriously. In this chamber where weighty decisions are made, in this building where the machinery of city administration takes place. Lord of time, the new year stretches before us like an unbroken field of snow, upon which we will write a story. For we make a road by walking. Make our choices here such that the story we write will please you. We'll please you by doing the best we can. We'll please you by doing the most we can with what we have. Help us care for people, for the citizens of this city. Help us to encourage social strength, the web of human relationships that make a society resilient. Help us promote ethical commerce. And help us to care for the natural world in which all life, including ours, depends. Thank you for providing what we have. For you are the giver of all things, and you have blessed us far beyond many places. Comfort and restore those cities and places far, far away, in California and Japan and Ukraine and Gaza and Haiti and Israel and in Sudan, where earthquake and war or drought and storm or crime or famine, flood or fire have devastated people's lives and livelihoods. Remind us that we are all citizens of this one fragile planet whirling in the darkness of space. Make your presence felt this evening. Make your presence felt in our minds, in our hearts, and with our tongues, that this may be a civil and productive session of city council and self-government in your holy name. Amen.
Pastor Obenshain, it's great to see you again. Thank you very much. And again, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to item number 5, which is the approval of the minutes, the City Council meeting minutes of December 18, 2023. Council, I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Jones, seconded by Councilmember Shenagas. Questions or comments on the meeting minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. City Council meeting minutes of December 18, 2023 are approved 6-0 in the affirmative. We're going to go to item number 6. Item number 6 is comments from citizens. This is the part of this evening's agenda. If you're here to speak on an agenda item, now's the time to do so, but it's also the time if you're here to speak on any other matter of city business, now's the time to do so. So normally what I do is if anybody took the time to fill out a online form to speak or a form at the door, I would call on that citizen first, but I don't think I have any pre-filled out forms. So I'll open up the room at large. Just raise your hand and be recognized if you wish to speak. Yes, sir. Welcome back, Mr. Miller. You didn't give me your name and address last time, but I know who you are.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Don't worry.
James Miller, 320 Lewis Street in Havre, Grace,
Welcome.
down that direction. A while ago, I came up here and I talked about, we used to have 2 comments from citizens section, one at the beginning and one at the end. And what I decided to talk about tonight would have probably been more appropriate after these people got to talk about the hospital. But this is my only night this month that I have free, and I didn't read the agenda until I got here. So I'll start out. Sometime in the future, the landscape around the route George Washington traveled in Havre Grace will change. The hospital will change or close sometime in the spring of 2004. I just saw where February 6th is the end date. A while back, there was a meeting with the Planning Commission talking about proposals for that property. And one of the proposals that was presented said low-density housing. And it said 23 single-family houses and 30 twin units. Well, when you read the fine print on the twin unit was a 16-unit apartment. So that brought the dwelling units up for that 6.2-acre parcel of land that's not all connected to 480 units in the twin units and 23 in the single family, for a total of 503 dwelling units down there. Years ago, Tranquility, the owner of Tranquility wanted to put 309 houses out there, and he couldn't get approval from the city because the city said, we only want 250. And the housing department from Washington, D.C. said, nope, 309 is too dense for that property. That property out there is 22.87 acres. And here in Havre Grace, they want to put 500 units in a 3-block area. Right now, the property is zoned RO for residential office. And there's already current zoning for those properties there. The 29 parcels that the hospital people own are not all continuous. They all fall under the property that existed before zoning clause. But when you go to start building on there, if you jump the property line, you've combined that property, and now it has to come into today's zoning. So my thought is that there should be no change in the zoning. They have to deal with what zoning's approved now, and no conditional uses granted, because you can't show a hardship because you bought a piece of property and you want to build something bigger than there. That's poor planning on their part. So I had other things to say, but that's it. And in closing, they're calling for snow this weekend. And the big question is, who's responsible to keep the cars off of the snow emergency routes? without me having to call and say, hey, somebody needs to get the tow truck out here. And the other question that when Havre de Grace sells property, they have to get the voters to approve it. When Harford County sells property, does citizens get to vote on that, or is that just the county council? Because this property that makes up Harford Memorial Hospital property all belonged to the county at one time. Because the Harford Memorial gave it to the county for a loan of $1 million and some odd dollars. And then they turned around and they sold it back to them. So, something to think about.
Thank you, sir. Any other citizen this evening in the audience here to speak on agenda items or any other matter of city business? Yes, ma'am. Good evening and welcome to the meeting. May you please have your name and address for the record?
First, I'll say Feliz Año Nuevo. How's that?
Gracias.
Anyone? Hablas español, anyone? Alguien?
Gracias.
Muy bueno. My name is Maddie Charlton, and you want my address?
If you wouldn't mind.
I live right behind McDonald's, 607 Legion Drive.
Okay. Welcome to the city council meeting.
Thanks, and this is somewhat the beginning of my 16th year here. So, actually, I guess I'll start out by saying the reason and this is killing me because I'm not very comfortable doing this kind of thing, but I've just gone through a disastrous water problem, and it's gone on for almost half a year. So that would be 2-3 month cycles, and part of it, someone referred to me as a victim of, that type of water damage. And I'm going to accept for one of the few times in my life, yes, I was a victim because I'm not an expert in plumbing and I do understand basics. But my little house I bought as what would be considered a repoed little dump. And I was the person who, I'm my own contractor, so in having certain things fixed after gutting the downstairs, I saw them doing some things like with plumbing, etc. But it started with the downstairs toilet making, sounds running. I understood that, so I tried to figure out how to fix it. And why couldn't I get a plumber in? For one thing, it's very hard to get them to come in unless it's a big job. And I called around, I emailed to find out various people who might be kind, asking if could I put something down because a lot of the fees, and I went through a horrible scam over the summer and just made it out above water. Oh, and I have to preface this by saying, I'm a hardy soul. I'm standing here in about about 6 weeks. I'll be 79 years old. I still drive a stick shift. I just completed 6 credits to upgrade my professional certification because I have to work till I drop dead, and as long as I like it, I don't mind. I just don't want to drop dead at work. Okay, that lightened me up, so I'll continue. At any rate, I figured out I'll turn this toilet off at the base each time it's used, and it's just me and my fur buddies. That worked for a while. Then I got a bill, and I saw that I was up over $200. And one of the city council people, I shared my bill to get an understanding for what's a lot of use. I had 2,000, whatever you call it, as my usage. And actually, it would have been less than that because my bill went up as much as $60 from too much water. And I thought it was just from this toilet. So I would go down to City Hall. I was there, asking a very nice, caring person. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to pay all this and to plumbing. And that person was kind enough to even give me some notes of people to try to get some help from. And so anyway, then, and I was working part-time in the school system. So I would have to make, plans for what would happen if I came home and I had the water problem. So then I had a drip from the ceiling. And I checked upstairs. I have not been able to use the toilet upstairs for a couple years because of the person who put it in wrong, and I had a leak from upstairs that caused me to have to get a drop ceiling and yada yada. So it started dripping. I got like a plastic waste can. I wound up having 4 receptacles because it was like centered in a certain spot. And I first noticed because one of those squares for a drop ceiling started changing color, getting darker. Then as it was collecting water, and I think insidiously, this leak had been going on for a while, but the way the upstairs ceiling was, it just had a place to go temporarily. So anyway, in the middle of the night, I heard a plop, and it was one of those squares finally caving into the bucket, fortunately. That continued, and then it worried me. So down to City Hall, I kept checking. Make a long story short, by the time it was running so steadily, the only thing I could do is turn water off at the house, period. Meanwhile, looking for a plumber. Okay. I thought of somebody that had done some things at my house, and I called them in desperation, and they kindly decided to come out. Now, this also is a story of price gouging, which is just awful. I'm this poor little old elderly lady, that, please, show some empathy and cut me a break. But anyway, he comes out, and he asked me, though, first, could I, take pictures? And I'm not supposed to climb. That's a separate reason. But I climb up, take a picture of everything, of the plumbing that I exposed because I pulled the drop ceiling down. And then when he comes in and looks at it, right away, he ID'd. The problem was why I thought it was the upstairs bathroom and I couldn't turn the water off. I turned everything off I could see, but I thought it was this one knob. It wasn't. It was this infinitesimal hole in copper plumbing, which is apparently typical of Havre Grace because the water is very acidic. That's what I've had as an explanation. And it was shooting up, which is why this was silent and so insidious. And it was undoubtedly squirting up, and wherever it bounced off, that found places that didn't allow it to come down right away. Well, by the time I was so overwhelmed, and I didn't have a shop vac, and it's amazing how many people you would think have a shop vac that I could borrow, but nobody had one. And, but the guy that came and saw this, guess what? He said, I can take care of this for you, quick, this is no big deal. He went to Home Depot, so that time to go to Home Depot, no traffic, he walked in, he was back in less than a half an hour. He goes up, he clips it, it was a piece this long that he removes. He attaches a squiggly stainless steel piece with 2 clamps fixed, less than 20 minutes. Now that would have cost me minimally $150 just for the plumber to walk in and to trust that they were going to point out that simple fix. And it fixed it. So then I have other things. But in the meantime, I'm down at City Hall. So then I get the next bill, and they use graphs. And one thing I'm wondering is why, I'm sure you use computers. If you keep track of anything at all, mine is from the short little bar to all the way to the top, from 2,000 gallons of water usage to 36,000, if I put my glasses on, 36,444 usage. I should know the units for that, but that aside, to the tune of I'll be precise, $771.18. Down to City Hall I go. Plus, I was suffering financially to the point that I kept asking, how much longer can I have to pay the bill that was like $240 or so? Finally, a kind soul in City Hall called me and said, your name is on the list to disconnect your water. I said, oh no. So then I had to rob Peter to pay Paul, and was in trouble with something else because I had to pay that or else. And I did it. Now, and I did it thanks to this hidden angel, which I wouldn't want to identify because who knows what, that might be a no-no. So I can't say, but I'm very grateful to her. And just 1 second. I ask, what should I do? And I go to speak to the person who's in charge of helping figure this out. Oh, the $50 was the point I wanted to make too, is if your name is on the list and they go out to your house and you catch them when they go out to your house, you get charged $50. But when I went to City Hall to ask, to say, how would I pay this bill? My God, how do I do this? And would you at least take off the $50? Because no one went out of their way to come to my house because I caught that in time. Do you know what was said to me? That's the rule. No. That sounds like greed to me, that you wouldn't take $50 off and I'll use the age card again. I mean, is there no respect for... And then I thought, how do these young families and people with kids and all the people who are going through like just serious financial troubles, how do they manage? I mean, it's cruel. So that is part of my 771, whatever number I said. Okay, so then I go and I'm like maintaining calm. I ask, okay, well, BG&E uses plans. I mean, almost every company or entity has a plan to help you out. And BG&E actually improved over the years, and they have various plans. So I'm revealing I've had some problems before, but it's because it's only me, and I generally have the weight of the world for a whole bunch of reasons. But that said, the response I got from that, well, whatever plan, I have a plan for you, but whatever plan it is, has to be done. It has to be paid by January 31st. And that would be so you split it up on a little square piece of paper. The person wrote, let's see, by February 31st. January 31st, $376 or so. And then February 31st, $376. Well, way back if I had trouble with $260, and the part of it is, I'm just getting back in, you couldn't do substitute teaching, and that's what I've been doing in the interim, and pretty soon I'll be doing something like full-time, probably from at home, or who knows, and something else that I can't discuss, it's sort of creative. Okay. Now, my point is, aside from this being just hellaciously upsetting, of course, is on a continuum, it's actually sort of immoral to not want to like help people. No one deliberately doesn't pay for their water, for God's sake. But in between, the lack of empathy, that, how would one, and when I said, how come you would not have a reasonable plan? I'm sure I'm not the only person who experiences this. And can you see I'm not a spring chicken, that I might have, like a whole bunch of reasons that I'm in this situation? And they just looked at me and said, it's a rule. So I wanted to speak on this publicly because it doesn't speak well. I'm a tax-paying citizen who pays all my taxes, and I think they're rather high, property taxes, and there would never be any complaint about that. And, and this wonderful chief of police here, I have to point out, too, she's evidence I reported the scam situation to the city hall, which left me like penniless for the longest time. And the Havre Grace police are great in how they handled that. And then in the meantime, there were a couple other things, because scamming is just rampant. So that's basically why the financial problem to begin with. At any rate, what I'm asking is that somehow somebody in City Hall rethink how you handle these kinds of emergencies. It's not that difficult. Like in the case of BG&E, you pay your most current would-be bill, and then you break down whatever the outstanding bill is, and you add it to that each month until it's paid for. And they have a year plan, they have 6-month plan. But just the fact that there isn't any plan is just totally upsetting. So today I went, and being scammed causes your credit to drop, and there's all sorts of age discrimination, and so I've managed to get my credit already back up over 600. So I managed to find a personal loan to help me quit using Freedom Federal Credit's courtesy pay, because they get mad the fact that their $35 fee, I'm not kidding you, I had a 99-cent cloud bill come in, and courtesy pay helped me out, and it cost me $35. So that's what it's like to be in my position at this moment. So I would ask that, and also referencing the gentleman who represented the lawyers as far as the hospital, I'm totally on his side. I didn't get my hand up in time, and I was too nervous to even say anything. Be ashamed of myself. But at any rate, I'm standing here able to walk because after taking a flying leap in the middle of the night, because I didn't have a workable upstairs toilet, and I still don't, I broke the neck of my femur, so it was not hip replacement, and I had creative surgery and a creative hardware device, and then I had to learn how to walk because the nerves, prevented messages that would be otherwise. And it took me about a year and a half, and then I went back to subbing because spring was coming, and anyway, and I survived that. But I got excellent help. It was in the middle of the night, and it's just me. I couldn't think of an ambulance, didn't occur to me. Somehow, I'm not sure how I did it, but I got myself out of my little house to my car and flopped in the seat and had to lift my leg to put on the gas pedal. Of course, I forgot my cell phone because I was obviously in pain, and when I pulled into the parking lot, it was one of those no one there moments, and I laid on the horn. And the rest is history, because there happened to be a sports orthopedic surgeon who saved me. So I can't think of, not having something that would serve as well as they have anytime I've ever needed to use them. I'm sorry I rambled on. I was told to be succinct. I tried the best I could. It could be worse, but I think I got my point across. Okay? Gracias. Oh, that's another additive. If you need a translator through COVID, I'm close enough that in a school system recently I translated for a mother who couldn't speak English, and it was just so gratifying. Anyway, thank you very much.
Who else would like to address the council on any agenda items or general city business? Any comments from the council? Okay. Move on to item number 7, appointments. This evening, we have one appointment and we have one reappointment. So the first one's going to be a brand new appointment to the Cultural Exchange Commission, and I'll hand it off to the liaison to the Cultural Exchange Commission, Councilmember Boyer.
Thank you, Mayor. I make a motion to appoint John Zimmerman to the Cultural Exchange Commission.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Boyer, seconded by Councilmember Boker. This is for the appointment of Mr. John Zimmerman to the Cultural Exchange Commission. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Mr. John Zimmerman is now a member of the Cultural Exchange Commission, 6-0 in the affirmative. Thank you. And we have item B is a reappointment to the Water and Sewer Commission, and Councilmember Boger.
Thank you, Mayor Martin. I'd like to move to reappoint Mr. James Clark to the Water and Sewer Commission. Mr. James Clark has been a great asset, so the motion has been made.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Boker and seconded by Councilmember Jones. This is for the reappointment, Mr. James Clark, to the Water and Sewer Commission. Questions or comments on the reappointment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Mr. James Clark is reappointed to the Water and Sewer Commission. Thank you very much, Council. We're going to go to item number 8, which is oath of office. We will do the newly appointed Mr. Zimmerman. Sir, if you could please join me in the well, and Councilmember Boyer, would you mind joining me? Right here, and stand there by that mic, and we'll stand here, and Councilmember Boyer stand. So we're going to do the oath of office, and what I'm going to ask you to do, John, is please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I'm going to say the word I. When I say the word I, please repeat the word I, but also say your name.
I, John Zimmerman,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will fulfill
that I will fulfill
the requirement of
the requirement of
the office I'm about to assume,
the office I'm about to assume,
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States,
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States,
that I'll be faithful and bear true allegiance
that I'll be faithful, bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland,
to the state of Maryland,
and support the laws
and support the laws
and Constitution thereof,
and Constitution thereof,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
that I'll faithfully and impartially,
without fear of favor or prejudice,
without fear of favor or prejudice,
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
as a member of
as a member of
the Havre Grace Cultural Exchange Commission.
the Havre Grace Cultural Exchange Commission
That's my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Welcome, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, as we roll through the agenda here, we got number 9, item 9, which is recognitions. This evening, we have no recognitions. Item 10, proclamations. This evening, we have no proclamations, and we go to item 11, presentations. And we actually do have a presentation this evening, and it's going to be from the leadership from University of Maryland Upper Chesapeake Health, and it's an update And I wanted to preface this presentation several weeks ago. I don't know, maybe about 3 weeks ago. Myself, some members of my staff, several council members had a chance to tour the new facility, healthcare facility in Aberdeen, and it was we're very grateful for the tour. It was a nice tour, and it's a very big facility. There's a lot there to be offered to citizens, and we felt like it would be a great idea. We extended an invitation to the leadership to come tonight to give the citizens updates on a couple things. Updates on the current facility plant in Havre de Grace and the timeline of the transition to Aberdeen. But also, more importantly, I know there's from a lot of town halls we learned a lot of citizens go have, weekly, if not daily needs sometimes at the hospital, whether it's Coumadin or whatever the needs are. And so we wanted our citizens to have a chance, if they're watching this meeting, to hear from the leadership how the healthcare deliveries are going to be changing as this transition takes place. So people have an idea in the back of their mind, what's the timeline, and when will we need a transition, to go into Aberdeen for services. It's a big facility, and there's a lot to learn about it. And so, again, we graciously extended an offer for the Upper Chesapeake leadership to come tonight. We tried to field as many questions as we could from the council ahead of time, so if we asked them questions, that they could give us the most detailed answers they could give. So, but anyway, thank you for taking me up on the offer, and the council, and thank you for giving information to citizens this evening. And I present to you Dr. Elizabeth Wise, the president of Upper Chesapeake.
Hi. Happy New Year, and thank you for the invitation tonight. It's been nearly 2 years since I started in my position as president of the University of Maryland Upper Chesapeake Health, and I just want to say thank you. Initially, when I started, I met with the mayor and your team. You gave me the flag from Havre de Grace, so thank you for that. And for over the past 2 years, it's been a very collaborative relationship. We provided updates to you on what's happening, and I know that we've had several meetings about the disposition of Havre Memorial Hospital. So University of Maryland Upper Chesapeake Health has been proud to serve the community for over 100 years. And in the next month, we will open up over $260 million in healthcare investments to better serve this community for the next 100 years. So my plan today is to share with you what's happening in all of our facilities, talk about the disposition of Havre Memorial Hospital, share with you some communications that will take place to the residents of Hartford County, as well as Havre de Grace and the communities that touch upon it, and just to share with you general healthcare updates. So I'm going to start on the Bel Air campus, where we are opening up two areas. One is called an ambulatory surgery center. That will open up sometime in spring. And what an ambulatory surgery center is we care for patients that need short stay surgical procedures, a few hours or an overnight stay. We'll have operating rooms there, and then all the space that you need to accommodate the care of patients that are having surgery. That ASC has 4 floors. The 3rd and 4th floor will be used for medical office space, and then the 2nd floor will house our institute for hand, spine, and joint care. And it'll have outpatient rehabilitation or physical therapy services. On the campus of Bel Air, overtop the Kaufman Cancer Center, which we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary there. It's hard to believe it's been open for 10 years. We have 3 floors that we're building. The 3rd floor is the shelled space for future expansion, whether it be for cancer care or other types of care. And then the 4th and 5th floor are inpatient and observation beds, 72 beds of short stay. Observation is usually 1 or 2 days of care, and then inpatient beds as well. That tower, the Bel Air Bed Tower, will open up on February the 6th. Mr. Miller referenced February the 6th as the date, and that date will be a common theme that you'll hear as I talk about the rest of the facilities. I'm going to move over to Aberdeen, We have already had open for close to 2 years our Health and Wellness Center. That has a number of different areas in it. We have primary care there, we have cardiology practices, orthopedic care, endocrinology, and oncology care, including an infusion center for patients that need either chemotherapy or other types of infusions. In addition, we opened up an outpatient wound care center, and we have outpatient rehabilitation as well. Opening up, when we open the facility, the medical center, the Aberdeen Medical Center, on February the 6th, we will also have laboratory services there, so if you need outpatient lab draws, as well as we will have imaging services there. So radiology, your CAT scan, your MRI, your X-ray, your ultrasound. The Aberdeen Medical Center that you referenced, and thank you for taking the time to tour the facility, we will have a full-service emergency department. That has 25 beds, so we will be able to care for example, we will be the first in the state of Maryland to be stroke-ready. So that means we can diagnose, we can image patients if they look like they are having a stroke, and then we'll be able to provide what is called a clot-busting medication. And then we would transport patients to Upper Chesapeake or another UMS facility because of the level of monitoring that's required to care for the patients. In addition to the full-service emergency department, we will also have 17 observation beds. I've referenced that before. Those are short-stay patients, again, 1 or 2 days. And then on the second floor of the facility, we are opening up what we're calling the Behavioral Health Pavilion. We'll have 33 beds there. That's an expansion for us. In total, when we open up the Bel Air Bed Tower as well as the Aberdeen Medical Center, we will have an additional 20 beds in Hartford County that will be available for our patients. Related to Hartford Memorial Hospital, one of the things of being part of a larger system like University of Maryland Medical System is they have had the ability where they've closed facilities and opened up new facilities. So we've learned a lot through that and have shared what we've learned so that we can apply it to Hartford Memorial Hospital. We will secure the building. There will have a security presence there. We will maintain the facilities because we need to keep the heat on, the electricity, the water, and we will have people in the building for administrative use, including myself will be there. I have an office there now, but we will have people that need to access the building and that will physically be in the building. We are required to remove signage on the facility, particularly for the emergency room, as well as signage that indicates that there's a hospital, and we will have to remove any references to a hospital, and we will have signage posted that this will be used for administrative purposes, and if people need to be referred to the Aberdeen Medical Center site, we will do that as well. We're also going to have a service of gratitude for our team members at Hartford Memorial Hospital. Excuse me. Recognizing the stories, and people have many stories. We have many team members that are tenured and have been there for a long time. So we will be having what we call a service of gratitude, thanking our team members for all that they have done. Related to our Bully Rock property, I'm going to transition. We have no plans for that land. I get asked that question, are there any plans for the property? And we do not have any plans for that property. What you can anticipate during this month as well as next month is a lot of communication to our community. Communication about coming soon and the services that we'll offer in Aberdeen as well as Bel Air, but also open now, so that we educate people in terms of when it will be open. We have commercials that will start to air, short and a little bit longer in duration. We have virtual tours that we will have posted on our website, as well as we will be offering community tours for people, very similar to what you received, that they'll be able to come and tour the facility. We're offering the virtual tour for people that might not be physically able to tour the building, but do want to see what it looks like. Just going to talk about the timing again. When we open up the Bel Air Bed Tower on February 6th, as well as the Aberdeen Medical Center on February the 6th, we will then close Havre Memorial Hospital. And I will tell you that there is much detailed planning that is going into all of the moves that are taking place because we want to make sure that our patients are safe and well cared for, whether they are moving to Bel Air or arriving or need to use the services in Aberdeen. One of our areas of focus in healthcare is really access to care. We have described what we see as two front doors for us. One is primary care, because 60% of our care is really delivered outside of the walls of the hospital. And so we have been focused on hiring additional primary care providers. That could be physicians or advanced practice nurses or advanced practice providers, like a physician's assistant, because we want to have people access the care and then make connections to other specialty providers if they need the care. And the other is our emergency department. And we, when I say we, I'm now talking about University of Maryland Medical System, as well as the state of Maryland, is really focused on what can we do to safely get our patients through the emergency room to either up to a floor or discharged appropriately and sent back home. So we are very focused on what we can do to make sure that we deliver the care in a timely basis and move patients through, particularly if they're hospitalized, to a safe discharge. So in closing, I would just again like to thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate the collaboration over the past several years and look forward to more of that as we make our transitions and open up and really transform healthcare here in Harford County. Thank you.
Ms. Wise, thank you so much for your time and detailed presentation. Just on the event that there might have been an outstanding question, would you mind if any of the council members asked a question, or because I know you brought your support staff with you?
I may phone a friend if I need to.
That's fine. We totally. I'm the same way up here too. Sometimes somebody asks me a detailed question about a water valve. I'm like, okay, EJ.
Sure.
But I'll start off the floor if any council members can think of anything that they may need to be addressed to help the citizens out. Oh, Councilmember Jones.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Really appreciate it. One of the things that I think about with the closing of the hospital is communication, and you mentioned there will be communication in the forms of commercials, website tours, and community tours. I know that print is very costly, but I think about citizens who may not have access to internet, who get their mail and who depend on their mail. What's your plan there for print?
Yeah, that's a great question, Councilman Jones, and thanks for bringing that up. We will have printed information, essentially they're drop cards that will go to the residents. And again, it will be a coming soon message for people, and then an open now, talking about the facilities and the services that are be available at Aberdeen Medical Center.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jones. Any other questions? Councilmember Shenegas.
Good evening. Thank you so much for coming in and presenting information to us. My question is, you talk about the behavioral health beds, 33.
Yes.
That's a great number. I was curious if there's an amount of stay time that they're allotted, or is it just for observation? What is the plan with their service there?
Thank you for that question, because I do want to just expand a little bit about behavioral health services that we'll be offering in Aberdeen, because it is a new service. In addition to the inpatient behavioral health beds, we will also have outpatient mental health services. And something new that we're starting is called a partial hospitalization day program. So what does that mean in lay terms? For patients that don't need inpatient care, but also are not quite ready and to prevent them from becoming an inpatient. This is intensive outpatient therapy, 5 days a week usually, where you have different groups that people participate in and activities. So that will be offered. Related to your question, our typical length of stay now at Havre Memorial Hospital on our inpatient behavioral health unit is anywhere from a couple days, or it could be a couple weeks. It really depends on the needs of the patients. So some patients come in and they need some of their medications that may need adjusting, and some people need a little bit more intensive therapy. So, and we've had patients stay as long as several months. So it's tailored-based care based on the needs of the patient.
Great, thank you for making that flexibility available to the patients.
Thanks.
Thank you. Council President.
Ms. Weiss, thank you so much for coming. You know, I have a long history of working at Havre Memorial Hospital. One of my first real jobs, I actually met my wife there. She was a nurse on the 4th floor, and I was a security guard. And I've been on every square inch of that hospital, and it's going to be a shame to see that go. But I do have a question about the I guess you call them the observation beds at the new facility.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say if you're in the ER and you get sent to the observation bed for up to 48 hours, you said, how is the billing handled for Medicare with that? Because I know that the Medicare Part A, Part B, and the different parts might not cover without the additional purchase coverage for an observation bed beyond the ER.
So I'm not a billing expert.
Okay.
And I will tell you that depending on the types of Medicaid that people have, it could be different. Managed Medicaid versus straight Medicaid. So, you know, I would have to get some more information for you related to that.
All right. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Boyer.
Thank you, and thank you so much for coming in and bringing everybody. Went on the tour. It's a lovely facility. I do have a question, and maybe it's an opportunity for you guys to talk to the community. In my own family, my aunt refuses to go to the ER because even though she needs to be in the ER, she doesn't want to sit there for 7 to 8 hours. So what can we say to our family members to tell them where the appropriate place to get medical attention, how to use it appropriately, how to use Aberdeen versus Bel Air ERs, and what they should expect and why they should not be afraid of going to the ER?
So both emergency rooms, whether it be at Aberdeen or Bel Air, are full-service emergency rooms. So if someone is in need of emergency medical care, I always tell people get to the closest facility. So that would be one thing. The second thing is, and we've pushed out this information, whether it be on posters or social media, about right care at the right time. And we've given some examples of where you should contact your primary care provider, if, you know, during business hours, versus going to an urgent care versus an emergency room. And so we have, and we will continue to message that because we want people to get the right care at the right time. So, and if your aunt, it was your aunt, right, does need emergency care, I would tell her to go to the emergency room, and we triage patients based on how sick they are. So obviously the sickest of the sick patients get taken back and seen versus other patients that might not be as acute, but still in need of emergency services.
Okay, thank you. I also want to just put a message out there too. So I'm the mother of a child who struggles with mental health issues. I have a lot of friends who are in the area who also have children who have struggled throughout the years with mental health issues. Within the state of Maryland, there are very few beds available. There's really not that many. There's a growing amount of outpatient care. My daughter attended university, actually, it's Johns Hopkins outpatient program, and it was a wonderful experience for her. I know that's not something that you offer now, but I really want to take this opportunity to advocate for the need for expanded adolescent mental health care within our community, because again, many of my friends have had to literally send their children to other states, whether it be West Virginia or Colorado for inpatient care. So if that's something that can be on the list of things to try to work towards, I'd truly appreciate it.
All right, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Councilmember Boyer. Any other questions? You didn't have to phone a friend. Well, Ms. Elizabeth Wise, President and CEO of Upper Chesapeake Health, we appreciate your time and the information that you put out to our citizens, and I'm sure as time goes by, there'll be more questions that we'll try to communicate from our side, from your side, just so every citizen understands the transition and what it means to them, and we'll move forward.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and it's an honor to serve the residents of the county and Havre de Grace, so thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to item 12, resolutions. This evening we have no resolutions. Item 13, ordinances. This evening we have 2 ordinances. And it's item A. I'm going to hand that off for a first reading. Councilmember Shenagus.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, I move to introduce ordinance concerning amending Chapter 20, annexation policy and procedure in the first reading.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Shenagus. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by the Council President. This is a motion to introduce an ordinance on first reading. Questions or comments on the introduction? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to introduce an ordinance carries 6-0 in the affirmative. Council, this will be known as Ordinance 1137, an ordinance by the Mayor and City Council of Havre de Grace, Maryland, adopted pursuant to the authority of Article 11E of the Maryland Constitution. The local government article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and sections 33 and 34 of the Havre de Grace City Charter to amend Chapter 20, annexation, policy, and procedure. Council, I have a motion to adopt on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by the Council President and seconded by Councilmember Shenagus. Questions or comments? Councilmember Shenagus?
The purpose of this ordinance is to ensure that when annexing more than 10 acres, that there's not a significant burden on our municipal services and public facilities, as well as to be sure that citizens have a community information meeting to get information on the party that is requesting the annexation. So it gives everybody an opportunity to be a part of what's taking place. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Shenagus. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote on Ordinance 1137. Councilmember Boger.
Yes.
Council President.
Yes.
Councilmember Robertson.
Yes.
Councilmember Jones.
Yes.
Councilmember Boyer.
Yes.
Councilmember Shenagus.
Yes.
By roll call vote of 6-0 in the affirmative, City Council Ordinance 1137 is adopted on first reading. Council President, would it be okay if we have a public hearing at the next council meeting?
June 16th? Or sorry, January 16th.
Okay, January 16th. January 16th, 2024 will be the public hearing on Ordinance 1137, and we will have it at 7 o'clock p.m. preceding the council meeting. Item B, an ordinance concerning the budget, and I will hand that off to the chair of the Budget Finance Committee, and that's Councilmember Robertson. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Mayor, fellow council members, I move to approve on first reading ordinance number, well, it doesn't have a number yet, but budget amendment number 2024-06. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Robertson. I have a motion by Councilmember Robertson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Boker. This is a motion to introduce an ordinance on first reading. Questions or comments on the introduction of this ordinance? Sir.
No, not the introduction.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion to introduce an ordinance carries 6-0 in affirmative. Council, this will be known as Ordinance 1138, an ordinance by the Mayor and City Council of Havre de Grace by authority of Article 11E of the Maryland Constitution. The local government article of the Annotated Code of Maryland is Section 37 of the Havre de Grace City Charter for the purpose of amending the city budget for fiscal year 2024 to address additional allocation of funds for the city of Havre de Grace for fiscal year 2024. Council, do I have a motion to adopt 1138 on first reading?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Robertson, seconded by Council President. Questions or comments? Councilmember Robertson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for the adoration of the viewing public, this is a budget amendment to move $182,000 from CDBG grant funding to pay for a water line on Weber Street.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Robertson. Any other questions or comments? Great. Council, I'm going to do a roll call on the first reading of ordinance 1138. Councilmember Shenanigans?
Yes.
Councilmember Boker?
Yes.
Councilmember Ringsacher?
Yes.
Councilmember Robertson?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember Boyer?
Yes.
By roll call vote of 6-0 in the affirmative, City Council Ordinance 1138 is adopted on first reading. And Council President, also have the public hearing on
January.
January 16th. Okay, perfect. And that'll be preceding the public hearing, not preceding, but going after the public hearing on 1137. So at January 16th, we'll have public hearing on ordinance 1137 and 1138 before the council meeting starts. 7 o'clock. Thank you very much, council. We're going to go to old business, item 14 this evening. This evening, we have no old business, and item 15, we have no new business. That takes us to director reports, and we're going to go to Mr. Gamatoria, Director of Administration. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and Happy New Year to all. Just a couple items. One, the farmers market will begin back again this Saturday, and it'll be on Congress Avenue in front of the Star Center, and it'll be the traditional winter's market. So we're looking forward to that. I would like to just give a public shout out to Bob Denton for the fireworks the other night at the duck drop. So behind the scenes, there's a lot going on to make that happen, and Bob does an excellent job, and Bob's part of the events crew. And then lastly, for our budget expectations, we had budgeted 100 connections, and we were reported that we closed out this year, this first half of the year, at 101. So we're one over budget, and we still have 6 months to go. So with all the budgetary, challenges, this is not one. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gamatoria. Appreciate it. Mr. Tim Boursier, Director of Planning, good evening.
Good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. Steve was speaking about the fiscal year. I'm going to talk a little bit about permits for the calendar year last year. But first, just to finish off last year in December, we had 26 new construction permits. Most of those were at Greenway Farm, and we had 23 other miscellaneous permits. So another strong month, especially when we have a week between Christmas and New Year's where there's not a lot going on. So that really all came about in the first 3 weeks of the month. In 2022 calendar year, we had 52 new construction permits. At the end of the year, 2 days ago, we finished with 158. So 106 more permits than last year. So I mean, we're really moving ahead fast, and there's no stop in sight. It appears there's no letting off the gas. So we continue to work hard to make sure everybody is, our customers are served, to get permits out fast, to answer questions, whether it's Colleen at the front desk or Marissa answering any technical questions on permits. So whether it's 52 or 158, we still are moving strong to keep everybody in motion. So that's it for planning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Boursier. Does any council members have any questions for Tim? Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Doherty, the Director of Finance.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. First, thank you, Council, for the progress on the Budget Amendment 06. It is something that is greatly needed by the folks on Weber Street, and your support is greatly appreciated. Second, I guess it'd be my professional responsibility with all this discussion to say that past performance is no guarantee of future performance. But it is safe to say that we are going to make our budget this year. Okay, now for the condition of the three major funds. The general fund, since my last report, we've collected about little over $150,000 in revenues. Once again, a lot of that is connection fees. And we have spent a little over $770,000 in capital expenses, payroll, and operating expenses. So the fund has declined by about $617,000, but we're still at a little over $7 million. So we're still in very strong financial shape for Fund 1. The Water and Sewer Fund, we had a little over $450,000 in revenue since my last report, and we have spent about $300,000 in expenses. So the fund has increased by a little over $150,000, and we're just shy of $5 million in that fund as we speak today. And that is more in line with the Water Sewer Fund. It goes up and down a little bit every month, unlike the general fund, which goes way up at the beginning and slowly declines through the year. And finally, for the Marina Fund, we've had about $60,000 worth of revenue since my last report and about a little over $45,000 in expenses, so it's increased almost $15,000, and we now sit at $735,000 in that fund, which is also doing very, very well. So all the funds seem to be performing as they were planned to in the budget, and with the exception of the greater than anticipated connection fees, which has already been discussed tonight. So things are looking very, very strong for fiscal year 2024, which, believe it or not, we're now actually 6 months into this 2024. So Happy New Year. And that's my report for this evening.
Mr. Doherty, thank you very much. Does anybody have a question for Mr. Doherty? George, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Welcome back, Mr. Malizer. Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Mayor, great to see you. Mayor, Council President, Council members, citizens. 3 quick topics. Happy New Year to everybody. I would like to thank the council, as George mentioned, Ordinance 1138. This is the Weber Street line. Jeff Keithley told me a story when I first got here about having to actually remove the front porch to service the line and then replace the porch for one of the residents. And we have had some leaks. We have had to have some insurance claims for that line. So this is very vital, and the timing couldn't be more perfect. So I thank you all for that. Second, the team did receive the 60% drawings for the downtown restoration project, so we will be reviewing that in the department. Just want to keep everyone posted on that. Leads me to my next point, and to George's point, we do have a plan for a preliminary budget to be done in our department by the 7th to review with me, and then to George, hopefully by the 15th to review with the finance department. So we're looking forward to that. As George mentioned, many concerns with increases in prices. For example, one thing I can think off the top of my head is a 1-inch brass curb stop went from around $40 up about 400%, around $180. So those are things we're experiencing in the department. Those are decisions we have to make in the field with replacements. Last but not least, Mr. Tim Whitty. 37 years of service between the county and the city. I just want to give him his kudos for helping mentor me over the past year and a half since I've been here. In his tenure and my tenure has been nothing but helpful for me, been a great resource, a friend, and someone I can reach out to on a daily basis. So I just want to give Tim a well-deserved farewell in retirement and wish him all the best. Mayor, Council, that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malizer. Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor. From what we know about the snow, it's a definite maybe. Because I've listened and I looked Weather Channel and looked things up, and it's a definite maybe. Right now, it looks like we might not see a lot of it. We might see more rain, but it's the snow, so who knows. But with that being said, it's really good timing when Mr. Miller came up and talked about Union Avenue, because it is considered a snow emergency route. That was actually one of the things I was going to discuss. If a snow emergency is declared, then any roads that are also snow emergency routes the citizens in Havre de Grace cannot park on there. Mr. Miller asked about, and I know he knows, but it is up to the police department to go ahead and make notifications to those people that are parked along the snow emergency route and tell them to move their vehicles, and if they don't move them, we do have to tow them. Sometimes we can do that in a very fast fashion, but a lot of the times, by the time we get cars off the road, new cars come in and park behind them. It's just one of those things, but we do try to do it as quickly as we possibly can. The other thing I also want to remind folks about is there's also an ordinance in our city about shoveling the snow in front of your house. You have to clear the snow in front of the sidewalks in front of your house within 24 hours after the snow or ice event. But you cannot throw that snow into the road if the road has been plowed. So again, just keep all of that in mind. And finally, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to let you know that I will have the end of the year, meaning 2023, the crime statistic reports to you. It'll probably be closer to the end of the month because sometimes we also have a little bit of downtime because people sometimes report things, you know, past the end of the year. So we usually genuinely wait till the end of January to get all of the reports in, and I'll get that to you. And that would be it, sir.
Thank you very much, Chief. Appreciate it. Any question for the Chief? Okay, thank you. Item 17, business from the Mayor's office. Just real quick, Mr. Gamatori mentioned earlier, you know, the fireworks and a duck drop. There really is a lot behind the scenes to make some things happen. What seems like a quick little simple family event to go see a lit duck drop off of a ladder truck and a 15-minute fireworks show takes weeks and weeks of planning, not just on our part, but also, you know, members of the hose company to put the duck drop together. But to get the quarry to drop off an old World War II barge and tie it up to a float on a holiday, on a Sunday, is no small task. So we thank our neighbors of Vulcan and the tugboat crew and the staff of the city that works closely with them all the time. So it was a nice evening at the duck drop. The weather just squeezed in time before we got the rain, so we were able to have a nice fireworks show. So yes, hope everybody had a good holiday. Downtown looked wonderful. It was great to see so many happy families during the holiday season and kids at the Santa Land and people jumping in front of the Christmas tree downtown, get their picture taken, and it really was a nice, really a nice time of year. You know, it's I always say from the City Hall perspective, you know, it's kind of like a ceasefire sometimes. You know, it's like everybody just kind of gets along for a couple of weeks. It's nice. And, you know, after the first year, we get right back into the sport. But it was really nice. And as mentioned by most of my directors, we have a budgetary analysis coming up. You know, we're going to start drafting our budget from our department needs. And so we'll hopefully have something to hand to council by the second meeting in April. But I mean, I will say a couple things. I'm never one to really want to pour mouth anything. I mean, anybody. It's almost like every politician always says, "There's not enough money. There's not enough money." I mean, you know, the government's kind of like your household right now. Things that cost, you know, $1 2 years ago cost $2 this year. We're facing that all the time, you know. But you know, the one thing that's steady is the tax rate and our revenues. But yet costs go up. So it's always a balance that we always have to look at of, you know, is it a must-have or a nice-to-have? Is it a necessity this year or can it wait till next year? You know, can that position be vacant one more year or do we have to fill it this year? So we always try to balance things the best we can to provide the same services. So, you know, nothing will ever happen to your services. You'll still have the, you know, beautiful city, Havre de Grace, great place to live, great public safety. But as we approach this budget year, you know, capital projects and the cost of capital projects are definitely going to be impacted by things. Now, here's a story. Everybody's got a story like this. I have a fireplace in my house, and I got a metal grate that I put logs on. I bought it 3 years ago. It was $58. It's cast iron. And I burned my fireplace so much that some of the cast iron kind of rotted out, right? So I'm like, where did I find that cast iron grate from? So I went right to the email from 3 years ago. And now it's $190, the same thing. I'm like, what happened to the price of iron? it's pig iron. But what I'm saying is, I'll just use it as one example, and everybody in the audience, everybody at home understands exactly what I'm saying. It's everything. It's like, where did this come from, and why are we letting these people get away with this? I refuse to buy this now. So I'll make my own cast iron grate. But anyway, the point is, with the help of Council President. But the point is, we're all facing it, and we're going to get creative. And I look forward to working with my staff and with the council, because, look, here's the bottom line. We got the right team and the right council to handle it. And going into 2024, we got the budget lined up until July 1 already for this fiscal year. And we have a lot of great things happening in town, a lot of projects going underway, and including the downtown restoration project, which we'll continue to give updates here at the council meetings pretty soon. So with that said, it's a great time of year, a lot of good stuff happening. I've always said this, and I mean this, the best is yet to come. We have wonderful things happening in the city of Havre de Grace, and great things going on. I mean, hey, look, where else can you live and have your high school girls soccer team win a state championship? I mean, come on, that's awesome. I mean, we have a lot of good stuff happening. It's not just about City Hall. It's about the people. It's about the community. It's about everything going on around us here. So we're very excited what the 2024 is going to bring us. So with that said, thank you all. I hope 2024 is awesome for everybody. I hope it's a safe and productive year. And we're going to move on to council comments. We're going to start with Councilmember Jones.
Great, thank you very much, Mayor. And council and citizens still in the audience. We have a nice audience this evening, and folks at home. 2023 was a really good year. I thought it was a really good year, and especially in Havre de Grace. Everyone knows I'm new to the council. And I had some great experiences with you all this year. So, and I had someone say to me, Vicki, we think you're the type of person that's really into holidays, and you're all this and that. And I don't know if you can guess, I'm really not. Usually. I had no tree up. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything except with you all and Havre de Grace citizens, and it was a lot of fun. So thank you for that experience from 2023. Some of the things that I did towards the end of the year, well, at the very beginning, actually, no, that was the end of the year, the mayor and I took a ride around town, and that was just really great for me to have the opportunity to hear just see some things that I hadn't seen in Havre de Grace before, and learn more about other things that I didn't know as much about, and just to be able to ride around and really tour the city. So that was really great. We spent a lot of time, we spent some time downtown, but we just went all throughout the city, so that was really great. Another thing that I did that was really exciting was I attended the Havre de Grace Colored Schools Kwanzaa celebration. They had a great turnout. It was full. There were a lot of young people, which I thought was really great. And they also had a musician, Randy Shine. And so the kids really loved him. There was some great food. And so that was just a really great end of the year Kwanzaa celebration. Now, January 2024, there are a few things happening this month if you're interested in celebrating the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. One is the Havre de Grace Arts Collective is hosting a celebration at the Opera House, and that will be on January 13th at 7 p.m. The cost is $12. And then also there's an event during the day. The Harford County NAACP is hosting their annual breakfast. It's actually a brunch on the 13th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And the cost is $60. The guest speaker is the Maryland Public Defender. And then also the entertainment is 3-time Emmy Award winner, producer, and arranger Bill Jolly. So information on that can be found on Eventbrite or Facebook, or you can email me if you're interested in celebrating any of those events for Dr. King. And that is all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Jones, and good evening, Councilmember Boyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for everybody for sticking around. I really want to thank Ms. Wise for stopping by and doing the presentation and engaging with the citizens of Havre de Grace to let them know what the plans are for the hospital, what to expect up at Bel Air, and as well as their other properties around town. And it was this past couple of days, I've been asking a lot of people, so what is your perspective, et cetera, and I got lots of very interesting questions from people. A lot of concern in regards to how long it'll take to go to an ambulance ride to Bel Air and the ambulances coming back, et cetera. So I think for the most part, they answered those questions. But, you know, time will tell how it all works. But the one thing I know for sure that what's going to make it work for us is that as we as a community start changing our mindset and not stop thinking about what we're losing and start thinking about what we're gaining. And what we are gaining is a great mental health hospital that's going to be able to serve the community. We will have access to medical care that hopefully over time will grow. We just need to all look out for each other and encourage people to use primary care as the first avenue for medical help versus relying solely on the ER to be your system of medical support. I'm very grateful as somebody who lives just 2 blocks away from the hospital to know that there are going to be people in the building and that it's not going to be vacant. I think that is a very good thing, just because, you know, vacant property just encourages people to squat in it and, you know, do malicious things that we don't necessarily want to have happen to that property. You know, that the new year, all I can do is wish that in the next year that we will come to a couple of deciding points where good things will happen, whether it be for the hospital property and that there'll be a purpose identified for it that we all can work for and work together to make our community even better. The same thing goes for the intersection at Route 40. I'm really hoping that there'll be some resolution that we'll get to a place where we can make things better for that intersection as well. And again, all of the development that we are seeing currently within Havre de Grace, I'm really hoping that all the new people moving to Havre de Grace get involved, stay involved, and look out for each other, because that's what makes Havre de Grace just an extra special place to live. So I wish you all a wonderful 2024, and God save us all.
Thank you, Councilmember Boyer, and good evening, Councilmember Shenagus.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Administration, citizens in the audience and at home. Well, yes, 2023 was amazing. A lot happened in Havre de Grace, and a lot of new citizens moved to town. And it's just wonderful to see new volunteers come out and helping and getting involved and just wanting to be a part of our thriving community. With that said, welcome 2024. And also I want to welcome a new business to the community that actually was a food truck that started out about 6 years ago. And I happened to meet them at one of their locations on Route 40. They were doing an introductory visit, and I invited them down to join our events. And since then, they've been at many of our First Fridays and other events. And I just want to welcome 410 Empanadas to our community. They passed their inspection. They're a real restaurant. They'll still have their food truck also, but they will be housed at 109 North Washington Street, and they want to welcome you out to their grand opening on Thursday, January 4th from 4 to 8 p.m. It'll be featuring their lovely empanadas with many flavors and Cuban and Peruvian flair with their family favorites added to the menu. So that's wonderful, and it's great to see that growth in that area. So everyone, I look forward to serving with you in the community and enjoying all the wonderful things that it has to offer as a citizen. And I absolutely wish you the best that's yet to come in 2024. Thank you. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Shenagus. And we're going to go to Councilmember Robertson.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Councilmember Shenagus, for the reminder about Thursday. I now have dinner plans. Just wish everybody a happy and healthy, safe New Year. Mr. Mayor, I yield the rest of my time to Johnny Boker.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Robertson. And Councilmember Boker, good evening.
Mayor Martin, citizens with us and online, all of our directors. Just want to send out, I'll keep it brief. Special thanks to our Director of Economic Development, really pulling it off. Lori, staff, DPW, and the police force for making and ensuring that our holiday season was, the key words here are safe and enjoyable. If you can put those two words together, and we do it quite well. 2024 brings in some new challenges, some new projects. Havre Grace Administration and Council look forward to a busy 2024. And I believe it's been mentioned tonight once before, maybe twice, that the best is in fact yet to come. I also want to close with thanking the Susquehanna Hose Company, the Havre Grace Police Department, and our first responders. Mayor Martin, that's all I have.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Booker. And we'll go for business from the council president.
Mr. Mayor, council, citizens all, I actually don't have anything to add. I wish everybody a happy and safe new year. Have fun out there, and I'll end by giving a statement as we go into closed session. So, under the Open Meetings Act, General Provision, Article 3-305, I make a motion to go into closed session upon adjournment of the open session on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024, to consider the following matters. 1, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. Number 2, to consult with city staff and city attorney about pending or potential litigation. This meeting will be closed under General Provision, Article Section 3-305B. Number 7, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. And 8, to consult with staff, consultants, and other individuals about pending or potential litigation. The reason for closing this meeting is consultations with the city attorney regarding advice and pending or potential litigation are entitled to confidentiality under the attorney-client privilege. The council will not resume open session after the closed session, and votes, if any, will be recorded in public at the council meeting on January 16, 2024, and that is my motion, Mr. Mayor.
Council, I have a motion by the council president going to closed session. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Booker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to go into closed session carries 6-0 in the affirmative. This will be at the conclusion of the meeting. Takes us to item number 20, adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Councilmember Jones, seconded by Councilmember President. Councilmember President?
Yes, that's what I go by officially.
Council President, Ring-Sager. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to adjourn carries 6-0 in the affirmative. The time is now 8:44. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you Tuesday, January 16th at the next council meeting. Thank you, everybody. Take care.